Hi guys, this is Liz with 143 Handmade, and I am here today to show you how I do my bases for my crazy quilts. This is an example of the type of block I'm talking about. And this foundation piece that happens to be muslin on this one is the piece that I'm talking about today. And I've done this with fleece as this layer, but I really like the thinner material. But really fleece worked great. It just forms a very heavy blanket, so it depends on what you want. But this is the crazy quilt style. This piece is a hand embroidered piece that my grandmother made, and I was going to use it on the last crazy quilt that I made, but I decided to make this be a fabric, a page in a fabric book instead. Because of this, I thought that it would be preserved better in a book. But so that's a whole nother series coming up. But today we're going to talk about the foundation pieces. And I had some leftover muslin, so that's what I used some of, but I didn't have enough to do the whole quilt. So I was rummaging through my stuff, trying to figure out what to use, and I came across some old sheets and decided to give that a shot, and it works great. I think it's an excellent way to use up old sheets. And I have an abundance of them at the moment, so that is what I'm going to use as my foundation for my next crazy quilt. So the first step, hang on. Okay, sorry about that. My husband's outside working in the tractor, and it's just, they're upset about it. But anyways, the first step to using a sheet is I just come in here and I just make a snip just behind the hemline. You could go through with a seam ripper and take out all those stitches and use that as well. I just don't. I'm too lazy for that. But then you can just rip it. And honestly, these shreds end up becoming cat toys more often than not in my house. And it is dusty. So just bear that in mind if you're going to be ripping fabric. It does create a lot of dust. And you'll see that, you know, this on this end, it's a little bit wider than it was where I started. That's because it's ripping true to the grain of the fabric instead of just where you decided to cut it. So it is a true straight line, even if this is not. So don't worry about that. And then here on this side, do the same. I already made the snip, and then so we would just rip that hem off as well. Just get that out of our way. And it's not unusual to have to snip it off the other side. Okay, and then what I do is I lay it out somewhat straightish. Let's see, that's not the corner. This is the corner I ripped. So you don't have to worry about if it's pressed or anything like that, because you can iron it in the next step if you want to, depending on how, you know, wrinkly everything is. But I just laid on there, and I leave myself a good 1.5 to 2 inches, you know, on both the bottom edge here and this other side. And then I grab my Sharpie marker. And I mean, feel free to use whatever marker you want, but this should not show up in your blanket. I have never had it bleed through, but I also work with dark fabrics for the most part. If you're working with very light fabrics, then, you know, it may be a concern. So just bear that in mind. So I just make a rough square around it. And then I'll come over here, and again, a couple inches. Make sure you guys can see that. Here's my line. I'm going a couple inches over. That just gives you room to hold on to everything. And then just rip it. I'm not going to bother ripping it all the way down. Go ahead and just turn my strip like this, and then another couple inches up. We'll do it again, and now we have a foundation square. And I will just do that to the entire sheet until I get bored, till I use up that whole sheet, or until I have enough squares. It just kind of depends on which way I go. On the last blanket that I made, it was a 9 by 9 square. So 9 times 9 is 81, and so it was a lot of squares. So I did not actually make them all at once. I just ripped up a sheet at a time, did those and then ripped up another set and another set and another set until the last few, and then I still ended up making a couple extra. But that doesn't bother me at all because I just roll those over into the next crazy quilts. This is like my stash buster. I pretty much always have one of these going. So, but that's all I'll do is I'll just, you know, continue to rip that up until I have enough, or until I've used up the sheet is usually, you know, how that works. And this whole strip is now the proper width. I hit a tear, and so it veered off to the other side. It's not a big deal because this is, you know, potentially a garbage sheet anyways. So anything that you can get out of it is great. Then I would just go down my whole strip. Sorry for bumping the camera. And do the same thing just over and over, you know, marking out my square. And then my next step will be to iron these pieces if they're really bad. Like these have some pretty harsh creases over here, so yeah, I will go ahead and give these a quick press. But then I can, you know, then you start sewing, and that will be in the next episode. So be sure to look for the playlist. This is episode 1, so there may not be a playlist yet, but after, you know, that has more than this one on it. But, you know, in a minute it will. So, yeah, then I'll just go through and I'll mark all my squares down a whole row, and then I'll go back and rip the in-betweens. And you notice right here, I veered off to the side. It doesn't even matter because as you are adding fabric, you're going to get, you know, it's going to pull the fabric in a little bit. You might accidentally fold it over, get a little pleat, you know, little things like that. And so that's why this is just a rough in line. It's not a cut line. This is just the line to tell me roughly where I need to be. This is also the line I use because I will actually stitch the fabric not on the side that has the line, but on the other side. And you'll see why when we get to the end. And if you mess up and do it the other way, it's not a big deal. Either way, it works. And as you can see, you know, I don't have enough for 2 left. You know, if I roll it all the way up, I don't know if you guys can see that, but got my ruler in here, folded this up, and if I kind of scooch it all the way up, I would not have enough wiggle room. So I'm going to go ahead and just push it on down. And I have lots of other ways to use up the scrap, so it's not a big deal. And why am I not? There we go. It was catching on the ruler, it wasn't letting my pen go all the way down to the fabric. That's kind of weird. But yeah, like that. And then I will just come back in and nip it in between each one. Move my ruler out of the way. And remember, this works with any size square you want to make. This type of thing. I mean, I wouldn't go too tiny with it, but like, you know, if you want to do a 6-inch square, this would totally work. You know, 5-inch square, 10-inch square, you know, whatever. But you just have to pick a size and be consistent. That's the main thing, is consistency. Okay, and then, you know, you have some stringies that you have to deal with, but now in just that few minutes, I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I've got 5 foundation pieces, you know, and for a baby blanket, you know, some baby blankets you can get away with just 6 of this size with some sashing, and you'd have a whole baby blanket. So, you know, that's how quick it can happen. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to sharing my process with you. And this is, like I said, episode 1 of a whole series that will come up. And here at the end, I will add some, like a slideshow thing of some of the crazy quilts that I've already completed. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget to subscribe. So I decided to do a little video tour instead of the slideshow. This is the first crazy quilt that I made for my husband and I. It's not the first one I made, but it is the first one I made for him and I. And that's my lady lovely locks, enjoying it all spread out. Yeah. You heard me say your name? Yeah. She's the cutest little meow. It almost sounds like she's saying yeah. But, let's see, I was wanting to point out a few things. See, like here in this block, my silly kitty. But here in this block, I did do some of the embroidery work. But, you know, it really, some of it's worn really, really nicely. Like this block, you can't really, it really doesn't look much different than the day I did it. You know, others I've had to completely take out. Like this spot, oh, it's got a hairball on it. But, you know, embroidery doesn't wear as well as, you know, just the hardy fabric. So I have decided to not do the embroidery work on on the functional quilts that that I plan to use on a day-to-day basis. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.